false in media, whatever, that was just like, wow.
Honestly?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay.
Katt Williams made some pretty wild accusations about Dave Chappelle's career being destroyed by disgruntled executives during a recent radio interview, and fans have wondered if the notion that Hollywood is trying to silence Dave is true. Well, keep watching to find out. Katt Williams made some pretty wild accusations about Dave Chappelle's career being destroyed by disgruntled executives during a recent radio interview. While promoting his upcoming HBO special, Priceless, the comedian went on the Don Magic Juan show to chop it up about other heavy hitters in the comedy game. Katt may have a huge following, but he's humble about his talent. He holds up Bernie Mac as a huge inspiration in his own career. That's when things started to go left because Katt went on a tangent about all of the things go on behind the scenes in the entertainment industry. The reason you don't know these stories is because there's no one to tell you, and you can't make me tell you, the comedian said with a smile. Moments later, Katt was spilling some major tea about what he claims happened to Dave Chappelle's career. Without naming any names, the embattled comedian implied that the powers that be at Comedy Central conspired to ruin Dave's career by assassinating his character. Dave Chappelle was decapitated in front of us, said Katt. Real sound clip 3317. Katt continued by saying Hollywood elites tried so hard to not only extort Dave but to also cancel him. According to Katt, executives offered Dave $50 million on a contract, which is only 10% of what he actually made. When Dave protested being grossly underpaid, Katt stated that executives were quick to turn on him. He said, "What do you think my fans are going to say when they find out you offered me 10% of what I made you?" And they said, "Your fans will believe that you're a crazy crackhead by the time you get home." Katt stated, "By the time he got to Ohio, it was so." Katt added, 8 years later, he hasn't been in a movie or on television. He's just not trying to do his real comeback. Something seemed a little off about Katt's tone during the interview, so it's hard to take his claims too seriously. While there is something intriguing about his claims, one would hope that it's not true. People walk a dangerous line when they make unfounded claims. This isn't to say that Katt is outright lying, though. With Katt's behavior over the last few years, he makes it very hard for people to believe him. Time will tell if there is any truth to what Katt claims. Crazier things had happened before. While Dave Chappelle has always sought to push boundaries when it comes to his brand of comedy, he's found himself on the receiving end of significant backlash for much of his material as of late. The comic has specifically been chastised for jokes made at the expense of the LGBTQ+ community, particularly transgender individuals. As a result, many have opted to protest many of his recent shows. Chappelle himself is aware of the response to his sentiments and is now opening up about what specifically bothers him about people's decision to deride his work. In fact, the comedian had previously exposed the tactics of Hollywood elites to silence him in an interview with Oprah Winfrey. Additionally, the famous comic opened up about a situation that occurred when he held a show at the Varsity Theater in Minneapolis last summer. The rescheduled event was met with backlash as protesters surrounded the venue. Chappelle also recalled during an episode of his podcast, The Midnight Miracle, that some individuals threw eggs at those who were standing in line for the show and said that one person threw a police barricade into the crowd. The comedian recalled that ultimately, the performance wasn't canceled and that when he arrived on stage, he got a major ovation. Because suddenly going to see a comedy show was this huge act of defiance. The man who created Chappelle's show years ago went on to say that he does not believe that any of the protesters acted with malicious intent, and also said that he's not mad that people critique his work. However, what he argues is that he should be allowed to keep sharing his thoughts despite the fact that many take issue with them. "I'm not even mad that they take issue with my work. Good, fine. Who cares? What I take issue with is the idea that because they don't like it, I'm not allowed to say it. Art is a nuanced endeavor. I have a belief that they are trying to take the nuance out of speech in American culture, that they're making people speak as if they're either on the right or the left. Everything seems absolute, and any opinion I respect is way more nuanced than these binary choices that they keep putting in front of us. I don't see the world in red or blue." The star also questioned the notion of the public trying to silence an entertainer like himself and stated his belief that such methods have nothing to do with love. He, instead, argues that it all pertains to fear. "They want to be feared. If you say this, then we will punish you. We'll come to First Avenue and fuck your show up, and we'll come to the Varsity Theater and fuck your show up. And they just don't get to do that." He added, "These arguments are part of a larger discussion regarding a person's right to free speech." Like him, a number of stars also contend that there's no longer room for nuance in today's society. However, some might counter that argument by saying that one's right to say something doesn't necessarily shield them from criticism. It's a complex conversation, and one that's likely to persist into the foreseeable future. Also, one of the most significant instances in which Dave Chappelle truly drew the ire of LGBTQ+ activists was when one of his Netflix specials, The Closer, was released in 2021. In the aftermath, many called for the streamer to pull the production, arguing that the content could be viewed as hate speech. However, company co-CEO Ted Sarandos confirmed that it wouldn't do such, as he argued that the special didn't cross that line and that artistic freedom is obviously a very different standard of speech. This decision was also made known in a criticized internal email that leaked, leading Sarandos to apologize for how the situation was handled. Since then, Dave Chappelle has seen pushback in other ways, with a man even attacking him on stage during a performance at the Hollywood Bowl in May 2022. When explaining why he tackled Chappelle, the man, who was given multiple misdemeanor charges, explained that he identifies as bisexual and claimed that the comic's words were triggering to him. More recently, Chappelle hasn't changed his stances on the topics he's discussed, and his recent comments suggest that he plans to stand firm. But on the other side of that equation, it's very likely that protesters will continue to object to his work. Let's see how the fans have reacted. A fan wrote, "Watching triggered leftists calling for Dave Chappelle to be canceled is truly hilarious. You can't cancel a man who has already canceled Hollywood himself once before children. Joke's on you." Another fan added, "LOL at everyone trying to cancel Dave Chappelle. He's too big, too independent, and walked away from Hollywood a long time ago." While another fan commented, "Another example of how HOLLYWOOD DC lead attempts to cancel cancel culture towards comedian Dave Chappelle that, according to them, is not following their scripted agenda of liberal bias." And another fan had a contrary opinion by writing, "They claim Hollywood canceled Dave Chappelle, yet he still gets paid millions by Netflix that then wins awards from Hollywood. Cancel culture sure seems lucrative for the canceled." Well, Dave Chappelle was attacked during a stand-up performance in the Hollywood Bowl, Los Angeles, and there have been speculations that it's all a conspiracy among Hollywood elites. The stand-up comedian was taking part in the Netflix as a joke festival when the incident occurred, and eyewitnesses have said that the stand-up was charged whilst on stage, with actor Jamie Foxx coming to his aid. The attack suspect was charged with assault with a deadly weapon and was immediately held on a $30,000 bail. According to Brianna Sachs, a reporter at the show, Chappelle was charged and tackled just as his performance was ending. Sachs said that security rushed and started punching and kicking the heck out of Chappelle's attacker. Actor Jamie Foxx, who was there to watch the show, is said to be one of those who ran up to help. Videos posted by members of the crowd heard Chappelle say, "Whenever you're in trouble, Jamie Foxx will show up in a sheriff's hat." And in the video you can hear Foxx respond, "I thought that was part of the show." Could this be a plot of the Hollywood elites to permanently silence Dave? Well, you never can tell, so stay connected to know more. See you in the next video.